With the NBA draft now in the books, we will get through free agency and the rest of the season 2 offseason here in the Las Vegas High Rollers MyNBA Franchise here on NBA 2K26, getting us set for the start of season number 3 in the next episode. In case you missed the last one, I'll leave a card at the top right because, well, obviously it was a big deal. We had the number 1 pick going into the draft, and I say had because one of the many big trades across the league included us dealing away the number 1 pick. We didn't trade too far down, however, as we made a move to acquire the 2nd overall pick from the Sonics, along with a top 10 protected first rounder next year for pick 1 and 4 second rounders. Seattle's choice at number 1 was DeMarco Jefferson, the big man out of Kentucky, who was the consensus favorite to be the top pick, but is expected to miss his whole rookie year with an Achilles injury. We were scared off by the medicals, ultimately opting for Marquise Cannon from the United States, played in the NBL last year in Australia, an exciting 6'7", 3-level shot maker who is dynamic beyond the arc. He's got on and off-ball versatility offensively, good defender, good playmaker, and he wowed us during his pre-draft workout. I didn't think he was some great athlete on film, but he might have been the best tester in our workout. We then traded up for the number 17 overall pick, giving Orlando's first rounder next year that we had been holding on to, along with our choice in the 2nd round, 38th overall, to draft Noah Halliday from Australia, also playing in the NBL, a 6'6" true point guard who I think might be the best playmaker in the class. Some intriguing scoring upside, but he's got a little ways to go. He's a good defender, but he's actually a lot better guarding bigs. I kind of see him as a point guard on offense and a power forward on defense. So a really unique and versatile skill set, but one that I'm very excited to ultimately develop. We had pick 32 in a deadline deal with the Nets, but I ultimately traded back a few spots into the 2nd round. I wanted to regain the future 2nd rounder that we lost when we traded up for Noah Halliday. So after all that, we ended up with the 5th pick in the 2nd round, and we drafted Messiah Ritchie, a 6'9" forward center hybrid from Virginia Tech. Go Hokies. He's not a very good offensive player, but I like what he provides defensively. He doesn't have elite size for being kind of a small ball 5, but I think he's got good athleticism, good rebounder, good motor, and a guy who, if he improves offensively, could end up being a pretty good player down the line. Of course, we also added Seattle's top 10 protected first-round pick next year. Given that DeMarco Jefferson will not play next season, I would expect Seattle to be pretty bad. They'll probably pick in the top 10 again. But next year, 2028-29, they're going to have 2 top rookies. So they hope that they will be outside the top 10 at that point, and that pick doesn't end up being that valuable that we would end up getting in 2029. So we're going to sign our 3 rookies and get set for free agency. Pretty much our entire roster is not under contract, but is under team control. Basically, everybody here is on either a player or a team option. I haven't really been able to develop a plan for free agency because I have no clue who's going to say yes and who's going to say no. So let's find out. Let's decide what we're going to do with our team options and see who accepts the player option. The biggest one, Benedict Mathurin, accepts his. He will be back. That is huge. I didn't really think he was going to say yes, to be honest, after the year that he had last season. But I guess he doesn't think the market is going to be bigger than $26 million a year. I'm stoked by this. I really wanted him back. 20 points a game on great shooting last year. Jeremy Sohan says no. That's also a surprise. I didn't think he was that impressive last year. I'm not sure if anyone's going to give him $18 million in the open market. Drew Holiday says yes, obviously. Ochai Agbaji says yes. And then in terms of the team options, I accepted everybody except for Jalen Williams. I thought that number at $7.77 million was a little bit too much for him. An undersized big who's got good feel as a playmaker, but limited as a scorer around the basket, limited defensively. We just drafted an undersized big in Messiah Ritchie, who is a very different player than Jalen Williams, but I just don't think at that price it makes sense to keep him around. Across the league, Nikola Jokić, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Donovan Mitchell, and Karl-Anthony Towns all decline their player option. Those 4 guys headline the list of free agents this year. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. I would guess Giannis goes back to the Rockets. The other 3 guys I would predict go back to their previous teams, but you never know. Bryce Sensabaugh is our only true free agent. He is restricted, and we are going to offer him the $15 million qualifying offer. I thought he had a pretty good year last year. He can really shoot the three ball. Defensively, I think he's getting better. I don't know what a long-term deal would look like for him. I would hope it wouldn't be much more than 15, but I would be willing to do the qualifying. So here we are in free agency. Jokić, Giannis, Curry, Donovan Mitchell, and Karl-Anthony Towns are the premier unrestricted free agents. Curry's going to go back to Golden State. Giannis, I think, goes back to Houston. The other three guys will probably return to their current teams, but again, you never really know. A lot of restricted guys here as well. Obviously, we're not going to land the likes of Wembanyama and whatnot, but I kind of want to do what we did last year. We looked for younger players like Benedict Mathurin and Jeremy Sohan, who I thought fit our roster well, who we can overpay a little bit with a short-term contract to where their team will not match the offer, but it's not a back-breaking deal in the long term for us. I think our biggest need is definitely center. Mark Singleton was most comfortable at the 4. Asa Newell can kind of play the 5. He's 6'11". I think he's better as a 4 anyway. Oso Iguodaro can play the 5, but I don't know if that's enough. Messiah Ritchie can too, but he's 6'9". He's undersized. I would like a 7-footer, a true center. And in terms of the affordable options, Derek Lively really stands out. He's very efficient around the basket, and he's a phenomenal rim protector. He's also a big-time lob threat at 7'1". Last year, he averaged around 8 and 10. He's been ultra efficient throughout his career. He doesn't really have much of an outside game, but he doesn't really need one. He's very effective in the role that he's been given by the Dallas Mavericks. He's a valuable piece for Dallas, but I think for the right price, we can pry him away. A 1-year deal, the player option for year 2 for $16.67 million. That's a lot more than the asking price. It gives Lively flexibility with the player option. I think he will want to take it. And it's not a super long-term deal for us. He says yes, but the problem is we cannot afford to pay both Lively and Sensabaugh. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to big brain it. I'm going to say no to Lively for right now so we can keep Sensabaugh's rights. Let's see if Dallas matches the offer on Derek Lively. They do not. Okay, so that means we can actually go after him. He is still listed as restricted, but that offer, they're not going to match. So because of that, we kind of have to pick between Sensabaugh and Lively. I'm going to try to offer them both deals and see what happens. Sensabaugh, I'm going to do the 1-for-1, $17 million a year. Lively, I'm going to do pretty much the same thing. 1-for-1, $16.67. I just want to see if there's any way we can make it work with both players. And unfortunately, there's no scenario where we can sign both of them. Given that we have to choose, I really like Bryce Sensabaugh. Second-round pick of the expansion draft, can really shoot it. A little inconsistent at times, but a big-time floor spacer. However, Derek Lively started in the finals as a rookie. Our biggest need, or one of our biggest needs, is interior defense. He gives us that. He gives us efficiency around the basket. So I'm going to choose Derek Lively, and he will be the guy that we end up signing. It sucks losing out on Bryce Sensabaugh. I did not go into the offseason anticipating that we would lose him, but sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles. Now we get our twin towers up front with Lively and Singleton. I know a lot of you guys like the idea of going double big and drafting DeMarco Jefferson. Lively obviously does not have the offensive game that Jefferson has, but he also has multiple functioning legs, which Jefferson does not. Sensabaugh is now unrestricted. We cannot afford him. That's unfortunate. I kind of want to add one more depth piece, though, in free agency. So I looked around at the players who are listed as affordable for us. I wanted to get somebody who can be impactful and can really replace the role of Sensabaugh, somebody who can shoot it on the perimeter and play a little bit of defense. We've got a lot of point guards. We now have plenty of bigs, but I think we need one more wing. Looking at the players here, in terms of a potential younger option who could be in play, Julian Strawther, I think, makes a lot of sense. Championship pedigree, was on the Nuggets for 2 of their title teams, so he's a multi-time champion. Played a pretty big role for the one in Season 1 of the series. And he's a true 3-and-D guy. Plop him in the corner, let him cook, and he can guard at a pretty high level on the perimeter. I would say better than Sensabaugh does. We're going to offer him a 1-year deal. It took him a couple of days, but ultimately he says yes. So Julian Strawther will join the team. It's a short-term thing, but he gets us a guy who can really shoot it. He can defend, and I think he will gel nicely with our young core. So let's take a look at the moves across the NBA through free agency. Largely chalk, but Donovan Mitchell is going to the Bulls. 3-year deal for $180+ million. This is an interesting one. It will be a sign and trade with Cleveland. Now, keep in mind, a sign and trade, the player is going to be worth less than an actual trade because the Bulls are signing Donovan Mitchell. So it's going to cost less. But Cleveland's going to get 2 first-rounders, control their own pick in 2028. So now they have their pick and Atlanta's pick in both 2028 and 2030. The Bulls keep all their own picks. They add Donovan Mitchell, who gives them a true number 1 as they try to compete in the East. And they've got plenty of young talent as is, with Christopher Oliva and Malik Kraft, who were just lottery picks this year. Cole Bird going into year 2. Noah Essengay going into year 3. They are trading away Draven Docknott, who was the 7th overall pick last year, but he had a rough rookie season. Negative 3.6 estimated wins added. He was rough. The Bulls are giving up on him quickly. Maybe a change of scenery does him a solid. Jimmy Butler is going back to Miami. It seemed like a pretty ugly divorce, but the two sides have reconciled. They gave Scoot Henderson big money. That was a good trade for the Heat last year. Jordan Poole back to the Warriors. Reunion again. I guess with Draymond gone, those sides have now reconvened. The Nets get Anthony Black and Cason Wallace. That's a big loss for the Thunder. Keontae George to the Pelicans. Bilal Coulibaly to the Sixers. Cameron Johnson to the Lakers. Jeremy Sohan gets big money from the Jazz. I did not know you had that kind of market, but I see why he declined the player option now. That makes a whole lot more sense. I would not have given him that kind of money. That is insane. Bryce Sensabaugh, 3 years, $50 million from the Pelicans. I think that's a little much. I don't know if I would have been willing to do that. So we make it to the end of free agency, and now on to player progression. And this is going to be interesting, because as part of our draft classes this year, it's not as simple as all the young players who have been recently drafted are going to go up. There are busts and there are gems. We're specifically focusing in on the first draft class of the series, since the class this year, those guys can't really go up and down yet. Don't panic if a player's rating doesn't really change, though. Look at Jason Tatum, for instance, who got worse from year 1 to year 2 and then took a big leap in year 3. So just because a player has a big offseason or doesn't really go up this year, that doesn't necessarily mean they will be a bust or a gem, but we'll see. Mathurin up 1. Lively down 1. That's a little concerning. Strawfer up 3. That's a win. Singleton only goes up 1. However, that is not great. Given his inconsistencies as a rookie, I was hoping for a little more, I'll be honest. As I said earlier, that doesn't necessarily mean he'll be a bust, but that's also not an ideal sign. I was hoping for more of a leap from him in year 2. Now, I do think he got better as his rookie year went along, so maybe his play will improve naturally. We had a +3 for Hardy, +3 for Newell, +2 for Rivers. Drew Holiday went down like a tank. Let's look at some notable results across the league. St. Fleur up 4, Rivers up 3, Tony Mariano only up 1. Romeo De La Rosa only went up 1 as well. So the top 2 picks in last year's draft, they didn't really go up a whole lot. So we are not alone with Singleton. Jaden Ivey goes down 3. His and Tyrese Maxey's athleticism going quite a bit down. Ivey, I imagine, largely because he broke his leg again. Villy Dew for the Knicks goes up 6. He looks like a true gem, picked in the 2nd round, the top pick of round 2. Had a pretty good rookie year, 10 points a game, 68 games played on honestly pretty solid efficiency. So now his rating goes up 6. He'll probably be the number 1 guy for them off the bench, and he looks like a major steal for New York. Joel Embiid is cooked, but the young guys on the Lakers went up. Dalton Connect is now an 82, London Samford a 79. Cooper Flagg is a 93. He's officially one of the best players in the NBA. The Nets with a lot. Nolan Traore up 5. Latonka McClain up 6. That's a big one for one of the top picks last year. Halliburton down 2, but Amon Cuvier goes up 4, their rookie big man, who's only 19 years old. The Rockets are going to be even better than last year. Kevin Durant got better at 38 years old. Amen Thompson goes up 4. Shepherd goes up 2. May God help us all with the Rockets. Who's going to beat them? Julian Wright, the Rookie of the Year, goes up 5. Big offseason for the young All-Star. And, of course, they've got him. They've got Jefferson. They'll have probably another top pick next year. Wemby's an 96. Castle's an 87. Harper's an 86. Carter Bryant's an 80. But Zion went down 3 because of his torn ACL. His athleticism goes down quite a bit, and he will miss most of the year with that injury. The Suns, I thought, made out well. Ryan Dunn up 4. Come on, Malawach up 2. Jamie Thompson, the 10th overall pick last year, goes up 5. OKC has some pieces to replace. Cason Wallace is gone, but they have good offseason from young guys like A.J. Mitchell, Thomas Sorber, Micah Steiner, and Durante Sprinkle. Rob Dillingham up 3, Hans Steinbeck up 5, Johan Berenger and John Tonje go up a lot. Steinbach's story is kind of funny. When I was adding second rounders to the year 1 draft class, I thought this guy was one of the created players. He's actually a real person. I like to download the real draft class and then edit them so they have realistic equipment, tendencies, etc. But Hans Steinbach is a real player at the University of Washington. He might be a lottery pick in real life. So he's just kind of here in our series, which is sort of funny. I was a little disappointed with what I saw from Portland. Jan Hansen goes up 4 and Kasparas Jakučionis goes up 3, but otherwise I don't think they made out too well. CJ McCollum is completely cooked. He is a 70. We clearly traded him at the right time, able to get that Orlando first rounder in 2028 that we used to go up and get Noah Halliday. Curry only goes down 1. He's still a 93. The Warriors lost Jimmy Butler, but I think their roster is a lot more well-rounded. With Jordan Poole, Isaiah Hardenstein, I think this team will certainly compete in the West. The Wizards certainly had some big boosts, +3 for Trey Johnson, +6 for Tyler Rose. This Wizards team might be good in the near future, not to mention they had the 3rd overall pick this year, Lando Nazario. With the Sixers, McCain up 3, Edgecombe up 4. I see why they were hesitant to trade either one of those guys for the number 1 pick. Milwaukee, +5 for Angelo Lombardi. They got him in the Miles Turner deal from New York. Looks like he could end up being a little bit of a gem for them. His offensive rating's going up a lot. Matas Buzelis is an 85. For now, he'll be the co-star for Donovan Mitchell. I wouldn't be surprised to see them look to be aggressive and add somebody else, maybe a big 3. Draven Docknott up 6. Maybe the change of scenery will really help him out. Boston, Cameron Kampf up 5. But Marcus Bennett and Jalen Wicks only went up by 1, which I was disappointed with for both of those guys. Jalen Wells and Cedric Howard both now 84s. Cameron Foster, who was traded away from Boston in the John Morant deal, he goes up 5. He's a 79. I think the Grizzlies got a good little group going forward. Scoot Henderson is the highest rated player for the Heat. How did this team make the finals last year? Osiris Buckley goes up 4. Jimmy Butler, though, goes down by 3. And that brings us back to the Rollers. I feel a little bit better about Mark Singleton not really getting better because some of the guys drafted ahead of him, Moriano, De La Rosa, Jalen Wicks, those guys also did not have very good off seasons. So either all of those guys are going to have big leaps in year 3, which is pretty common for talented NBA prospects, or they're all busts, and the top of last year's class was just really bad. That's a possibility as well. This is what the lineup is going to look like for Summer League. I'm excited to see year 2 of Singleton. I'm excited certainly to see the 3 rookies. I'm excited to see Jet Rivers. Maybe he takes a leap up, or Jordan Holloway. 12 seed, 2-1. I think last year we went winless. So we're making progress. That's good. Point differential of +11. The scoring leader was Jordan Holloway, 16 a game. Noah Halliday played well, 13, 6, and 3 on good shooting. Jet Rivers was fine. Newell was good. Mark Singleton was shooting toward 8s. Good Lord, 30% from the field. And then only 7.7 points a game for Marquise Cannon. For the number 2 overall pick, I expected a little bit more. I would have hoped he would have dominated the Summer League. We beat the Magic in round 1. Look at Cannon. 24 points. Love to see it. Dear God, Mark Singleton. 3 for 18. Noah Halliday only shot the ball 3 times. He did have 8 assists, though. I love seeing him impact the basketball game without shooting it. We lose to the Hornets. I expected that. Their roster is loaded. 21 for Knipple, 11 for Moriano. Amir Richardson, their rookie, at 7 and 12. Cannon, 22 points. Shot the ball well again. He played really well in both playoff games. Halliday, 10, 8, and 7, filling up the stat sheet. Singleton was a lot better. Holloway, though, went 3 for 10. So after all that, Cannon actually ends up being the leading scorer on really good splits because of the 2 playoff games. Holloway, Rivers, and Richie are all hurt. Rivers has been a little bit banged up, but Holloway and Richie would have both just gotten hurt against Charlotte. Broken ankle for Holloway, left knee tendonitis for Richie. Both of those guys were on the outside looking in of being on the opening day rotation anyway. Now that they're going to miss training camp, that certainly does not help their case. The Sonics beat the Thunder in the finals. I only recognize 2 of those names on that Sonics team. How did they beat OKC? with Topic and Steiner and Sorber and all these other guys. Nonetheless, Seattle wins the Summer League without Julian Wright because he's too good and without DeMarco Jefferson because he can't walk. In terms of the overall stat leaders, Romeo De La Rosa was the leading scorer. For a top pick in year 2, you should be dominating, so that's encouraging. Caden Zach, Abdoulaye with the Pistons, O.J. Stackhouse, and Jeremiah Westblade were amongst the top rookies. Chris Oliva was good. Rakeem Miller and Geno Hunt with Sacramento. There's Neptune Hibbins with the Sixers. Osiris Buckley had a good summer league after he was the leading scorer for the Heat in NBA Finals games. And then Marquise Cannon was a little bit better than Lando Nazario, which does make me feel kind of good. Here's the Sonics, for what it's worth. They had a lot of injuries and not a lot of names I recognize, but they still found a way to win the whole thing. So now we make it to FIBA championships. This will be pretty fun. We'll simulate through, see who ends up winning. The seedings are all out of whack, it looks like. But ultimately, USA beats Australia. I don't know who Taylor is. I do know who Josh Giddey is. I see Dyson Daniels. I see Johnny Furphy. But who is Ricky Taylor? That is not a real person. Booker and Brunson lead Team USA. Shout out Jalen Duren. Shout out LeBron on Team USA. Even though he retired, he needed one last FIBA glory at 42 years old. In terms of some of the other rosters, there's Benedict Mathurin, our guy on Team Canada. Team Spain has a couple recognizable names, including Gabriel Cortez, the first rounder last year. Brazil, I recognize Guy Santos. That's about it. Germany, there's Franz Wagner, Isaiah Hartenstein. I think Dennis Schroeder was down there. Obviously, the French team, of course, is loaded. And then Slovenia is Luka Doncic and his long-lost twin, Rok Doncic, who's from Canada. That doesn't make sense. For the All-Star City, Brooklyn, that's fine. I thought about doing Las Vegas. We did Seattle last year. It would make sense. But I know the NBA had trouble with the All-Star game in Vegas like 20 years ago. So maybe they want to wait until they feel a little more confident that we're not all going to go berserk. Draft classes, you guys know the drill. If you would like to make a custom prospect for Season 3, join the Discord server. The link is in the description where you will be able to do so. We have 16 players on the roster. I'm going to have to cut it down to 15. So I'm going to trade Oso Iguodala to the Memphis Grizzlies. I think he's a good player, but I think his and Lively's skill sets are really redundant. I think Lively's just a better version of Iguodala. So we're going to add 2 second-round picks in doing so, trying to make up for our stash that we lost on draft night. Kevin Durant plans to retire at the end of the year, even at 38 years old, even though he's still getting better. We've got the Clippers for the opener. Harden, Kawhi, Zubac, Colin Sexton, and the rookie, DeMarcus Thompson, 30th overall from Oklahoma State, scheduled to start immediately. This is what the rough draft for the opening night rotation will look like. Carter, Benmath, Cannon, Newell, and Lively. The second unit features Strother, Singleton, Hardy, Abaji, Wiggins, and that's it for now. Jet Rivers, I'm certainly going to try to get in there, although his morale is really low. I checked earlier in the summer league. It's because he got hurt. It's not even anything we did. Richie and Holloway are behind the 8 ball in terms of training camp. And then Noah Halliday is recovering from the flu. So I don't know what his status for the opener is. I don't know how much minutes he will get right away. But obviously we're going to look to get him some playing time. Certainly sooner rather than later. Because I think he's a guy who can impact winning for us right away. So that'll wrap up the episode. Next time around, we will go through the opener. We will go through the first month of the year in Season 3 with our new look Las Vegas Rollers. Let me know what you think of our team down below and who are some teams early in the year you guys would like to see us play against. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.